Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents and Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us for today's broadcast. We're simulcasting for our show, not only for our radio audience tuning in at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. We're glad that you all can be with us. Also joining us online worldwide via our podcast at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music. Glad you all could be with us as well. For those tuning in visually, we welcome you guys to our broadcast as well. And you see our next guest. We're excited to welcome back Dr. Velma Bagby to our broadcast. She's been very busy this year. We got a chance to meet for the first time since our last conversation together. She's released a brand new book. We're going to talk about that. She's in the latest issue of Conversations Magazine, our anniversary issue, and she just was pointing out, you'll see a picture of us together there from our visit. And we're going to let you guys know about the great things she's doing, including a special that she's running on her website at drvelmabagby.com. But Dr. Velma, welcome back to the broadcast.
Thanks, Cyrus. I'm glad we're able to have this talk today. It's been a moment.
It has been a moment, and a lot has happened for both of us since then. First of all, congratulations on the release of the brand new book. We're going to get into that. But Dr. Velma, can you believe it is the last month of 2024? I want to begin, as I always do, with the reflection up until this point. Here we are entering December. What has it been like for you to kind of reflect on the year that's been for you?
It's been a lot, Cyrus. When I realized how much has been accomplished in a very short amount of time and how quickly this year has passed, it's been amazing.
Yeah. And you've done a lot. You've been releasing books since April. So, I mean, you've had a very busy 2024. Talk to us about that, Dr. Velma. I mean, for one thing, you released what was the fourth book in the Catch series, the Catch Book of Fools. You did that April 1st. And then, of course, since then, you've been able to now release your new book. You've been able to do 2 podcasts that you've introduced. What has that part been like for you to kind of reflect on the additions to your brand this year?
It's been really exciting. I've been enjoying my interviews, and I'm preparing for the podcast release in January. I'm already covered for the first quarter of 2025. So I'm grateful for those who have reached out to me and wanted to be interviewed. So I'm very grateful for what is happening right now. And believe me, my co-author for the recent release of book 5, we have been working on that book for several months, and except we were taking a different approach until, as we all have to wait on God to give us direction. He stepped in and said, no, talk to 30 women. And I'm telling you, the outcome of that made the book more, to me, more precious, because we're talking to 30 different women, and 30 different women gives us their favorite scripture. And then they created their own affirmation. And then they tell us why that scripture was important to them at a particular time in their life. So it just really made more sense, and it feels more precious to me than had my co-author and I just did it ourselves. I mean, we were almost done with 30 affirmations, but that would have been just our take on the affirmations. But having individuals give us their perspective, it just made it so much more precious.
And for those who don't know, what Dr. Velma is referring to is the book you guys see on our screen there. And Dr. Velma, I think, that is a 30-day Wow Women of Worth journal. You guys can see they're already another Amazon bestseller. I didn't like this cover photo. I'm going to take care of that right now. So talk to us about, Wow, because Wow is not new for you, Dr. Velma, because if anyone has followed your website at drvelmabagby.com, they know Wow is something you've done in other ways. Talk to us about what Wow Women of Worth has meant for you.
It means a lot, because having had conversations with women for years, let me just start there, even before becoming a writer. In ministry with my husband, who was pastor for over 10 years. And my role was over being responsible for the women's program. And of course, I'm mentoring and encouraging women along the way. And I ran into some situations I just thought was devastating to learn about. Yes, we read about it. We've heard some horrible stories. And I just felt like there needed to be something done. And even in conversations with women who believe they're ready for marriage or ready to meet the man of God has for them. And I'm having conversations with them and thinking to myself, no, you're not ready, just based on what I was hearing. So a lot of women have not taken the time to embrace who God says they are. And that's not the man's job to do that for us. We have to know that for ourselves. And so that's where it began. The woman of worth just kind of fell out of my mouth that day. That acronym just kind of created itself based on the conversation, the topic that was being addressed in the book. It just sort of created itself. And it made a lot of sense because that is really where everybody needs to start.
Earl is joining us on LinkedIn. He says, Dr. Velma is such an encouragement. Oh, that's so nice, Earl.
Did I tell you he's my favorite in terms? He's my favorite. That Ed Hall show, LLC, all of it. He's one of my favorites, Cyrus.
Well, you know what? I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad you fixed that from your favorite to one of your favorites.
One of my, yeah. Let me make it clear, Mr. Hall. You're one of my favorites.
Jessica Amaro, good to see you over there on IG. Kathy, hello to you over there of Tell All Inks. Good to see you over there on IG as well. We are simulcasting our broadcast. So we're doing this for our radio show here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM, WYADonline.com, through our podcast at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music, as well as, of course, through our social media for Conversations Live and Cyrus Webb Presents. We're doing a crossover today with Dr. Velma Bagby. As I mentioned, she's also featured in the newest issue of Conversations Magazine, out now on Amazon. I want to talk about your website, Dr. Velma, because again, and I'm going to share my screen for our audience who haven't been over there, because you're doing something very special that we have not talked about a lot of times when you're on camera with us. And that's because normally when we're on Amazon, when we're broadcasting there, for good reasons, Amazon wants all the book sales to come through them. But you're doing something very special through drvelmabagby.com. Talk to us about the bundle that you have on special right now.
Well, the bundle is related to the Catch series, that one book that I thought I was writing at the time, The Catch No One Wants, and it just took off in a way I had not expected. And now it's a 5-book series with the 5th book being released this month, having been released this month. So the 4-book bundle was just to help people to really, for those who like to have the paperback in their hands, to really kind of grasp what we're talking about with book 5, grasp what we're talking about in book 4, because book 1, 2, and 3 are very key to book 4 and 5. And so I'm excited to be able to offer that bundle at a discount. And then all of my ebooks are 99 cents until Christmas Day, including the new release.
Awesome. A great marketing tip there. Let's talk about the marketing side. The business of books is what we call it here at Dr. Velma, because I think a lot of times, as you mentioned, and this is the book Dr. Velma said was going to be the only book, and that was the first book in the series. It was not, of course, her first book to write. She's written nonfiction before. When you were writing The Catch No One Wants, Dr. Velma, did you feel like it would have the connection to readers the way that it has?
I expected it. I was hopeful, but I was not expecting the avalanche of responses that I received and how inspirational those responses were to me. It told me I did the right thing. And so I'm excited. But no, in the beginning, I didn't. I thought I was writing one book, mission accomplished. I believed I did what I was supposed to do. But just hearing from people, it just continues. Even to this day, I had a person on my podcast I was recording earlier, and she brought up the book. And so I'm just excited about what it continues to do for folks.
All right. Melissa's joining us over there on Facebook. Hello to you, Melissa. It's good to see her. Earl, I guess I am ignoring that comment that you make since it's not true. I'm not going to even repeat what you have to say.
Melissa always tells the truth.
Oh, no, I'm talking about Earl posted something and I said, you know what? I'm not even repeating that because we don't do falsehoods on this broadcast. So So Earl, I'm not going to get to that with you, but I do want to talk about the Catch series, Dr. Velma, because I think it has been so interesting for me as a male reader. And I have to specify that because, again, when you wrote the series, you were looking primarily at women. That was your audience. But as you see, and it's something that I tell people all the time. I mean, you never know how something you write can connect with other people, even if that wasn't your intended audience. What has it been like for you to hear from males who have read the book and the way they've been able to feel about it, Dr. Velma.
It was really interesting when I got that response when the male readers started asking, well, when are you going to talk about this? And I have males in my family who ask the same question. I know you're talking to women, but when are you going to give us an opportunity and see what you have to say about the wrong women? So I really, what I did was I took some time to have conversations with some of the men that I knew. And I wanted to know, what were some of the challenges you faced today? And I was really shocked by a lot of it. I really was. And so that's why I always take it back to the women, because women have a tendency to blame men for what's happening in the dating world. And it's not true. And everything that God talks about, it begins with you and your own heart. And so I had to take that message back to them in terms of, when are you going to slow down a little bit to examine your own heart? Where are you right now? Because that really is the source of everything. What is it about you that's attracting the wrong men? It's not them, it's you. And then, are you really ready? So really examine what's there. What's in that heart of yours?
Love that. Miss Queenie, hello to you. Good to be able to see you as well. I want to reset really quick for those who are just tuning in. Welcome. You all are listening and watching Conversations Live in Cyrus Webb Presents. We're simulcasting for our radio audience in Mississippi, but also for our social media audience as well. Dr. Velma Bagby is the best-selling author of the Catch series. She also has her newest book that is out now, that is also a bestseller, the 30-Day Wow Journal, that being Women of Worth. And as you just heard her say, book 5 of the Catch series is coming as well. We're going to ask her a little bit more about that, but also remind you guys to go to drvelmabagby.com. Again, that's drvelmabagby.com. We go there because she has a lot of great things. Not only, of course, a great book deal that she's doing on the first 4 books of the Catch series, but also she has other things as well. I want to talk about Dr. Velma, the entrepreneur, because I think sometimes people can look at us, Dr. Velma, and they may know us as one thing, but you do many things. You're a media personality. You also, of course, are an entrepreneur. You have merchandise people are able to get there on your website. What has that been like for you to see yourself as the whole person you are when it comes to the professional side of your life?
But not only that, I try to be the type of person that I know how to turn back and make sure I'm pulling somebody else up. I always look for those opportunities as well. So it's just not about me getting to the place that I'm in. I always take the time to try to turn around and see if I can lift somebody else up, bring somebody else in. And so I'm grateful to be able to do that. So beyond all of the things you just said about me, and I know that I've said that, I think earlier in my conversation, somebody asked me about an award, and congratulations to you, Cyrus. But for me, the greatest reward that I can receive is when somebody says to me, I read that book and that book really opened my eyes to something. That is my best award. And so I really appreciate that. And I look for that.
Yeah. I love that. And I appreciate it, Dr. Velma. You know, there's so many things, though, that you've done in your life that have been impactful. As we both mentioned, you brought back one of your podcasts, Dr. Velma Talks. You started a brand new podcast as well that you came up with all on your own. I'm so excited about that because it gives people an opportunity to be able to interview with you. I want to talk about the difference in the two, because Dr. Velma Talks is literally just you doing that. It's you're being able to share messages. What was it like for you to start a podcast, Dr. Velma, where you're having a conversation with a guest?
It's been exciting. I mean, I started that way before I really got into writing more books. I started when I realized what I should be talking about, when I realized the call upon my life to talk about it, when I realized my husband and I have been blessed with a long-term marriage, 50 years. That's unreal. And at that time, we were in our 40 years, I believe, around 40 something at the time. And so I felt like God was saying, you need to share it. You need to tell other people how to get to that place. And that's when I started examining all the challenges and problems that I'm witnessing in the world, and based on conversations I've had with both women and men. And I knew I had to say something about it, but do it in a way that would be easy for them to read, for them to discover their own problems and situations without saying to people, you need to, you got to, this is wrong, all of that. So I felt like that's where I needed to go, Cyrus. And I'm sure there's more to your question, but I'm just sharing that I started out that way. I I thought I needed to talk about it. I didn't know how. I didn't know what direction I was going to take. So I was one of those in the beginning that I talk about even on my show. How does a person on the sidelines get started? Because when I began, the genre was flooded with lots of books on the topic of dating and marriage and relationships. So what would anybody want to hear from me? And then now, I didn't expect to be doing all of this at 70 years old. So I'm grateful that I can continue to talk about it. But that was what my journey was like. I'm going, wow, there's plenty of people talking about it. Why do I need to talk about it as well? And it was a marketing teacher that told me, there's an audience for everybody. There's no competition in this. If God gave everybody an assignment, there will still be lots of assignments left over to do. So just do yours. So that's what I stepped out to do.
Such a great point. Michael Martin, hello to you over there on IG. I see you. Stacey Thomas, hello to you. Frazier, good to be able to see you over there on IG as well. And again, of course, we welcome those tuning in on our other social media platforms too. I want to stay with that point for a second because when we talk about finding your voice, Dr. Velma, that's something you've been able to do as well. Talk to us about what that's been like for you to share the importance of that with others, because there are people who will say, as to your point you were just making, that what makes you think you have something to say? What makes you think people want to hear from you? What has it been like for you to help other people or encourage other people to find their voice, Dr. Velma?
Because I had those same questions. I mean, despite the fact that I come from government, I was a deputy administrator. I knew my job. I knew how to apply the rules and the laws of that corporation. I knew how to write for them. I knew their voice because I had to represent their voice. All of that, I knew that. But to be honest with you, I was just a shy girl who came up from the poor side of the neighborhood, who had to prepare herself for the world that I was now in. It took me some time, but God helped me to get there. Who was not one of the folks who would be so easily or readily able to jump onto your podcast or this interview. I was not one of those. I didn't want to do it. And I'm happy, to read the book in my room quietly and not have a large crowd around me. That was me. So it was a journey for me, Cyrus, to really get to where I am today, because maybe I was an introvert. Nobody ever classified me as that, but that may have been me in the beginning stages of my life. And here I am doing all of the things I'm doing today, all because I have to give the message. I have to share what I've been given to share.
Love that. And I should also mention, can't let this conversation go by without mentioning something else you've done this year, and that is to come on as one of our co-hosts for Word That You to Live By, a weekly show that we do on Amazon Live. That also, of course, can be seen on social media. Hey, Tina, good to be able to see you. So good to meet Tina in person, Dr. Velma, over there.
I bet it was.
Yeah, so good to meet a lot of you this year. Got a chance to meet you this year. Got a chance to meet Tina. Got a chance to see Taz again. This was our second time meeting in the last 5 years. So that was pretty cool. I want to talk about that connection. Because I think it's been so interesting, just like you and I, when we met each other in person, even though it was the first time, it didn't feel like the first time because of the connection we've been able to make online. How has social media kind of helped you in that way too, of bringing those connections both online and offline?
It's fine to have those kind of connections, but I still believe in the in-person connection that really validates that this person is who they say they are. I mean, a lot of people can put on a good show. Yeah. I never said that you did that, Cyrus, but it was refreshing for me to see that you're exactly what you portray on your shows. You are that person, but there are people who are not like that. So it was exciting for me. When I joke about, wow, he really is an AI, that was my joke. Because you are just as real in person as you are on your show.
I am definitely real. My family will argue that I may be still AI though.
I don't know. I'm not sure what Mr. Hall is talking about over there in the comments.
Look, I think that. What's that?
Did you see his?
Okay, yeah. What did man do for God to put the woe on man and create? Well, I don't know what he's. Is that a joke between y'all or no?
I don't know. Is that a question for me? Because if that's a question for me, I have an answer for you.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Okay, so based on my research, when I began this journey on this topic, I wanted to know as well. I wanted to know, okay, what really happened back then?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to give my daughters in their conversations any kind of fluff because they were too smart for that. So I needed to go deeper. What I do know is what I know today, and that is man was very happy and satisfied with the work and assignment he was given to do. And I know men like that even today, right, Cyrus?
That's right.
They're happy with what they have been given to do. They're not turning left nor right. They're moving ahead with what they have been given. And that's what Adam did in the garden. There was a reason why God delayed the creation of Eve while he dealt with Adam and gave him his charge, because many women would insert themselves too soon and too early in the business that he's been given or the assignment he's been given. So I see that as a clue. God always leaves clues that he delayed it, but it was not Adam who said he was alone. He never said he was alone because he had fellowship with God. Cyrus is very happy with what he's doing. So stop talking about him. I'm telling all of y'all, you're going to have to answer to me if you talk about Cyrus any further. He's doing exactly what God has called him to do, and stop it. And when it is time, he'll know that, and God will know that. And so it was God that said it was not good. Let us make a help me for him. And that definition is not a subservient person. If you look at Proverbs 31, she was a woman that had all of that in a bag of chips, going on running the house and doing everything else out in the stores and everywhere else, negotiating and all of that. So I'm saying, in response to Mr. Earl Hall, that God made a decision that it was not good for man to be alone, but he made that decision when he thought it was time for man to have that. And until then, his eyes are closed. He is asleep because he had no part in creating her. Just like every man today has no part in creating who God has for them. God knows exactly what he wants for him.
I love that. I'm going to have to cut that out and use that, Dr. Brown. That was great. My friend Michael Martin, he said on Instagram, Cyrus moves like a robot, but I guess he is real.
Very real.
And Tina says about us meeting, I mean, it was so awesome to meet both Cyrus and Dr. Taz. It really was. And just like when I met Tina for the first time in Fayetteville this weekend, it didn't feel like it was the first time.
Yeah.
Because we had built up this rapport over the years for sure. So you have a lot going on, Dr. Velma, something that you mentioned we have to close with, and that is you have book 5 you mentioned.
Can you believe it? Yes, and I partnered with Miss Queenie Clem as my co-author. To be honest with you, she's my virtual assistant, and we had been working on affirmations for a while. We thought we were almost done and ready to put it out until God said, no, go to 30 women, find out what they need, what they can offer. And like I said earlier, Cyrus, to me, it worked out so much better because it means more to me now that I look at the book than if Miss Queenie and I had used the affirmations we created. It means so much more. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, that gives us something to look forward to. Tina says, I love this conversation. Thank you for that, Tina. Glad you made it back home safely, Tina, who came in from Seminole, Texas for the awards. And I have to say, before we wrap up here, Dr. Velma, want to say a big thank you and show appreciation to Dr. Norman McLaughlin and the Chosen Pen publishing family. It was an amazing weekend for our radio audience, as well as joining us on the simulcast. I was very honored to receive the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award while I was there. Tina Siemens had her book recognized on the Little Scandals That Could. Dr. Teresa Smith had her book Stronger recognized as well. So congratulations again to those two.
Congrats, ladies.
As well. And Dr. Velma, congratulations to you on another big 2024. It's been a very busy year for you. Excited about all the things happening. So let our audience know, how can they stay connected with you?
I'm on all the social media platforms, pretty much all of them. I pulled out of Threads, and I think I'm no longer on X, but all of the others, you can find me at Dr. Velma Bagby, or you can go to my website at drvelmabagby.com. I'm looking and encouraging everyone. Please make sure you like and follow and subscribe on either of my platforms. I would appreciate your support.
Love that. I would too. So make sure you guys support Dr. Velma. Dr. Velma, always a pleasure. I should let our audience know she was not planning on being with us in this platform, only for the radio platform today, but we had some tech issues on the Blog Talk Radio side. So we had to do some changing around. Earl says, great interview. Thanks, Cyrus, for making Dr. Earl, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even
First it says Dr. Velma.
See there you go. See, you know what? See, Earl, that's what you get for messing with me. But Earl, thank you so much for watching. Thanks all of you for tuning in, both for our radio audience as well as joining us online. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.